Songs and Downs, featuring Owen Dara. And
here's me, apparently. I didn't hear my name, maybe you did, but it's me, Owen Dara, and so happy to be here for our second edition of Songs and Sit Downs. Fantastic show lined up for you. I should mention, by the way, that that intro, it was the first time that it's ever been played anywhere, and I know it wasn't played in its completion, so you'll have to tune in next week to hear the rest of it. But that was composed and put together by our very own JJ Shock. So thank you, JJ Shock, our resident sound engineer and composer. We are still finding our way through this. This is, as I said, our second show. We had a great show last week. Thank you so much to our guests. And our guests this week are just as wonderful. We have Severin Browne, who is legendary around these parts. He started off with Motown. He was a Motown recording artist, songwriter, and also a staff writer with them. And he's still wowing audiences around town and beyond with his clear voice and his well-crafted tunes and just his sense of self. He's a wonderful guy, and we're really looking forward to talking to him. And also, before that, we'll be talking to a guy in Australia, one of Australia's finest stand-up comedians. We'll be going to Sydney to talk to Gary Eck, and he has some great stories. And so hang around for that. We'll be getting to him in about 10 minutes. In the meantime, a shout out to all the mothers out there. It was Mother's Day yesterday, at least in this part of the world. And as my mother reminded me this morning, when we spoke on the phone, I have 364 more days to prepare for the next Mother's Day so that nothing is rushed. So thank you, my mother, and all the mothers out there. You deserve all of the good things that come your way. And I know it's crazy times for all of us. There are new norms. We're developing habits, I guess. A lot of us developing bad habits, if you're like me, sitting around and not being motivated and watching Netflix and leaving the dishes in the sink. Well, actually, the dishes in the sink in our house became a problem because we thought, well, it's not like anybody's going to be coming over to visit us. Nobody's ever come to the door. So it's like, just leave the dishes in the sink. It's fine. But then, of course, it piles up and you need a dish and you got to go down there and find the spoon or the bowl or something. So we decided a couple of weeks ago, we said, this is ridiculous. We got to counteract this and develop good habits. And we got to start washing the dishes as they go. And we said, no more dishes in the sink. And it worked very well for about 3 to 4 days. We were actually washing the dishes after we used them and putting them away. And it was very cool. But then I noticed something started to happen was I would see dishes left around the place in different parts of the house, like on the table, by the couch, out on the patio, in the living room. And I started to work out that, okay, there's a caveat here. The virtual fine print says they have to be in the sink. So if you don't put them in the sink, then you're not breaking the rule. So now when it comes time that we need a dish that we don't have, we got to search the whole house and outside and around the house. Because it's very tempting. You finish your plate, you go, well, if I put this near this, if I go near the sink, I have to wash this. So why don't I just slip it onto the couch? And I hear Jess laughing under there. Obviously she hasn't looked under the couch. Don't look under the couch for at least another 6 months. I've been staying away from the news. The news, we can't help it. I mean, for the first few weeks, I watched all the news, and there's so much going on that is so tragic. And occasionally something comes across my news feed that I just go, what? This cannot be happening. Well, I saw this headline, and apparently it's genuine. It's from one of the trade papers. I think maybe it was Variety, and the headline said, Tom Cruise set to leave the planet. I swear to God, this was the headline. And I thought, I don't know, is it like a religious thing? Because I don't know how that works. Maybe at the highest level of Scientology, you get to leave the planet. Because Mormonism, there was a guy trying to convert me to Mormonism one day, and he said, well, in our religion, when you die, you get your own planet. I was like, my own planet? I can't even keep the weeds out of my backyard. What am I going to do with my own planet? Although, if you did have your own planet, it's a lot more places to stash the dishes for a lot longer. So I'm kind of leaning towards that. But I had to delve into it a little further, and apparently Tom Cruise is going to film up at the International Space Station. So he's leaving the planet to make a movie. And I tell you, Tom has copped a lot of flack, his fair share of flack over the years, but you got to hand it to him. He's innovative and he's hardworking, and good luck to him. Anyway, speaking of habits and hardworking and being innovative and good people, we're going to cut to our fearless leaders, Dolly Ramirez and JJ Shock, who are behind the scenes making all this happen, put this show together for us. And when I say we're going to cut to them, usually what happens is we cut to them, but maybe there's a technical issue, which is totally fine. Oh, hi. Good to see you guys. That's your cue when I said we're going to cut to, then you cut. So I see. Oh, you have a Gibson. Is that a Gibson T-shirt, JJ?
No, I'm a Debbie Gibson fan.
Oh, is he one of our sponsors?
Maybe one day.
That's great. I noticed that the green screen has been peeled away a little bit. What is that left over from Patrick's Day, or what's going on there?
No, it's we're going to use the green screen, but it uses a little bit more processor power, and it's too hot here in the studio, and we want to keep the computer cool.
Oh, that's good.
So we don't have any issues like yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, what happened?
You might have to play a song.
Yeah.
I know. Yesterday we had an issue that JJ's computer froze, but of course, unfortunately, mine didn't freeze. So here I am, and then I get a message from Dolly on the thing. Do you want to play a song live? And I'm like, and I can't. Of course, I can't be like, well, I don't know where my guitar is because everybody can see it there in the background. So I'm just like, so I go and I get the guitar and I sort of do a semblance of tuning, and I get through the song, and then Duff. We cut to Duff, and Duff goes, "Wow, that was great, and you just did it with the guitar out of tune." And I'm like, "Oh man, thank you." So anyway, hopefully we don't have those problems. Thank you guys for keeping us running and being so professional, having the sound great and doing sound checks. And I know how much work goes into this. Thank you so much. Now, we have a couple of announcements regarding YouTube. Is that right?
Yes. We announced yesterday that we made it to 100 subscribers. So our official name is YouTube / Divine Rebel Music, which makes it so much easier for people to find us. Right. So Owen, but now we have to get you to that point.
That's right. So I can stream this very easily and people can find it on my YouTube
That's right.
channel. So we're going to do some shameless self-promotion here.
That's right.
Okay, good.
So this is where thank you to everyone who put up with our shameless promoting of our YouTube channel and helped us get to 100. So now, yes, we would like to get Owen to that point. I am going to put his YouTube link in the comments. So whoever's out there, if you wouldn't mind, whether you're watching this live or a replay, if you wouldn't mind going to that link and hitting subscribe.
Well, thank you so much for shamelessly self-promoting me. I do appreciate that so much. And
Owen I have to say, Owen, like you're such an amazing host, and we could not do this without you. So
well,
I will do that.
I don't take praise very well, so I'm going to play the piano over that. Being from my side of the Atlantic, we're more self-deprecating, as is, I believe, our guest, Gary Eck, who's coming up. It's a similar sense of humor because we asked him some questions and he was so self-deprecating. So I look forward to chatting to him more about that. And also, we should remind people that we have a tip jar. And the work that goes into putting on this show is extraordinary. I see what happens going behind the scenes, and a lot of people have supported us and they've donated towards this, and we really appreciate that. Most of all, what we appreciate is you being here and your presence and subscribing to my YouTube channel. But other than that, if you want to chuck something in the tip jar, we're going to put the link up there, and feel free to do that. And we really, as I said, appreciate your presence and your support in any way that you can.
We would love for it to look like this.
Ooh.
Well, more than that. We want to, maybe there's some hundreds in there buried.
Any Bitcoins? Yeah, just chuck a Bitcoin in there. Just one Bitcoin, That's great. Well, thank you guys. We might check in with you a bit later, but thanks so much, and especially for that shameless self. Let's see at the end of the show, because I think I have 71 subscribers thus far on YouTube. Let's see if we can reach 100 by the end of the show. That would be somewhat of a miracle. Okay, so we're done with you now. We got things to do.
See y'all.
Let's go back to me. All right, I love those guys. What I told them was they're now like family to me. What they don't know is I actually hate my family, but let's keep that to ourselves. Okay, so we're in the business of promoting music, and we love to see live music going on, and we love musicians, and we are champions of all live shows, recorded music, musicians, fans of music, audiences. And so we're going to go through the gig guide just to promote all the shows that are going on around town. So let's bring that up on screen. Right. Yeah, so there are no shows going on around town. Still, last week there were no shows going around. Is this right? Let me check. Let me double check this. No shows going on around town. No live shows. And how much longer are we going to be doing that joke? Hopefully not too much longer. So as it's crazy times and our lockdown, what we can do is we can go to the Facebook live shows, and we'll be telling you a little bit later about the ones that you can tune into. There are a lot of them going on, and I know there's a lot of competition, and whoever you can support in any way you can, just by even watching their show, leaving a comment, please leave us some comments. We really do appreciate that. I see one coming up right now from Celia Chavez. Thank you, Celia. Good to see you. And any other comments that come in, we really do appreciate it. Now we're going to go to one of my favorite segments by probably my favorite person in the entire world, who I've been on lockdown with. So I have to say that because I'm kind of stuck with her and nobody else. And this is, please welcome Jessica Lancaster with On the Upside.
Hey guys, this is Jessica Lancaster with On the Upside. So I have this glass and it did have wine in it and now it doesn't, but I think I'm just gonna put it on the floor, right? Sounds good to me. All right, so first, let's start out with Tom Shrubin of Maryland. He has decided to take the bad dad jokes all the way. So every morning, Tom writes an exceptionally corny bad dad joke on a whiteboard, and he posts it outside of his house for all of the world to see. Classics such as, what do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. And I ordered a chicken and an egg off of Amazon. I'll let you know. And actually, one of my favorites, did you hear the rumor about butter? Well, I mean, I'm not going to spread it. It's funny, right? Okay, maybe I'll leave the jokes to Owen. All right, so are you getting zoomed out? All right, so Zoom fatigue is a real thing, apparently, and I happen to find a solution. How about inviting a llama to your next Zoom meeting? So Sweet Farm Animal Sanctuary in Half Moon Bay, California, is letting people and businesses add one of their cute little animals to Zoom meetings. So if you're a boss and you want to have a staff meeting your employees will actually want to attend, why don't you invite a goat? Or if you're having a Zoom birthday bash, maybe bring a pig along. I think it's a great idea. I love this. Anyways, if you want to do this, which I think everybody should, and I probably will for my birthday if I'm still here in June, you can follow the link that we provided and all the profits go to the animals. Now, by far, the best news that I've heard all week, maybe all year, is a team of scientists in Kenya and Britain have found a microbe that blocks malaria from mosquitoes. So 100% of the time. What that means is if mosquitoes can't get malaria, they can't spread malaria. And if they can't spread malaria, they can't give it to people. So this is potentially the beginning of the eradication of malaria. Now that is amazing news. Other positive things going on is that we're all getting to know our neighbors better. I happen to live a few doors down from an unbelievably talented chalk artist who drew this beauty right in her driveway. Now, it's her version of a Mother Earth yin yang. She actually did it for Earth Day a couple weeks ago, and it's still there since it doesn't rain here. You can follow her at Chalkfest Chica. I recommend you do on Instagram. And every time that I walk Strudel down the street and I pass it, it brings me so much joy. I just love it to death. So anyways, thank you, Sarah. Also, our neighbors are very, very musical, just like Owen. I'm sure everyone hears Owen playing piano, and that brings them lots of joy. And Tony and Tasha down the street have this thing called Sidewalk Karaoke on Fridays, where Tony brings out his keyboard, sets up some speakers, and they basically accompany people in singing. And, you know, I like to do a little musical theater now and then. Why not? Yeah, that's me. What are you doing? Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. And I'm going to keep talking over that. We also live across the street from the most amazing neighbors. Stop playing me singing. Jenny and Colin. I know they're watching right now. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Colin. They bring us bags of grapefruits and homemade jam and cupcakes right to our front door in full like mask and gloves and everything. But they're just amazing, and I wanted to give them a shout out. And, you know, they also watch Strudel when we're out of town. And I don't know when that will be again, but that's pretty amazing. So if you have any good news that you would like to share, whether it's in your home, in your community, or something that you hear somewhere, please send it over to us and we'll share it as well, because I think it's all about being positive. And speaking about sharing, I'm going to introduce you to our weather dog, Strudel, who's going to share the weather with you. Take it away, Strudel.
Hi, I'm Strudel, and I'm your weather dog today. And it's really nice out. It's good weather for sniffing butt of all kinds, and it's good weather for chewing grass and then maybe throwing up after. And it's also good weather for giving me cuddles. I like cuddles, and that's the weather. Okay, thank you. I hope you like your weather too. Do I get a treat now?
Of course he gets a treat.
Yay!
Good job, Strudel.
Go, Strudel.
I'm gonna give him a treat right now, actually.
Oh my gosh, a live
There you go,
treat.
buddy. Although actually
Oh.
first, when the grass you're talking about, did you eat it or did you smoke it? Because sometimes you look very stoned in this house. Okay.
Oh,
Well,
bye.
thank you so much, Jessica. That was wonderful. And that was so much fun. Now, fortunately, we're going to a comedian next, because those jokes that Jessica told, while funny, this next gentleman does it for a living. Not only is he a stand-up comedian, in fact, one of Sydney's most popular comedians, or Australia-wide, actually. He's been noted to be one of the funniest men in Australia. He's also hosted a TV show. He's made several movies. He's a writer-director and an all-around good guy. I'm very excited to chat with this guy. Please welcome to our program, Gary Eck.
Woo! Hey.
Hi, Gary.
Hey, Owen. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Yeah. Look
Good.
at you.
Did you enjoy those kids' jokes that were being thrown around?
Look, I opened with those jokes, so now you've ruined it. Now everyone's going to go, oh, well, that's where Gary got his stuff from. Thank you very much.
Well, I wonder, because you have kids, right? But now I think did you say your oldest is 14 at this point?
14, and that's my son, and I've got a daughter who's 11. Yeah.
And those kind of jokes are just no good with them anymore, right?
Even with my gold, I'm not funny with my kids. They don't find me funny. So I've got to work really hard.
Yeah, but I guess when they get older, they'll appreciate with your gold material, so to speak. They're probably too young to get it. And so you're in that terrible in-between stage.
No, they get it. They're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. That isn't funny. Kids don't find you funny. That's the problem. Your kids don't usually find you that funny. You know.
Right. So when they hear you're a professional comedian, they're like, what the hell is wrong with people?
I'm kind of embarrassing. It's like, really? You're a comedian for a living?
They don't tell your friends, like, because when they go to school and they say, what is your dad? Oh, well, my dad works for a bank, or my dad's CEO of this company. My dad's a comedian. Like, what? Oh, let's check him out. He's not funny. Why is everyone laughing?
I know, it's true. And then, they'll know it's a kind of a curse sometimes. But
and so you're on lockdown in Sydney as well. You're the same as us, right?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's the first time in the history that the whole world is kind of avoiding each other. So, I mean, I'm kind of in a bit of Stockholm syndrome with myself. Like, I don't actually want to leave me anymore. I'm quite enjoying it. Like, I don't know what's going to happen when it all ends. I'm like, well, I quite like me, just me.
And just being by yourself, you don't have to deal with people.
Well, the thing is, I've always been a bit of a germaphobe anyway. Like, I've always kind of avoided people with coughs and sneezes. And I've been opening doors, like bathroom doors with my elbows and wrists for years. And now, everyone's doing it.
Your time has come.
My time has come. Yeah. People are looking at me. It's like, wow, that guy's really good. I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this for years, guys.
Well, yes, that's true. And you've been doing stand-up for years. Tell me, what inspired you to get into a thing like stand-up comedy in your youth?
You know what? Comedians generally don't ask other comedians that, because it's the same answer as probably yours.
Well, I'm just trying to work it out for myself. Like, do I hate myself that much? Because you just told me that you like yourself. I hate myself. That's how I got into stand-up comedy. Self-loathing. What was it for you?
I think it was I started doing like theater sports at school, and then and into uni, and I really that was the first time I started performing in front of a crowd and the audience kind of laughing. And it was something I never really even considered at school, because comedy is not something that's encouraged by your teachers. They don't say, Gary, keep that up. There's a career in that,
When you're being a smart ass in the back.
When you're being a smart ass.
Well done.
That's great. Oh, that's good work, Gaz. You really why don't you go to the headmaster and tell him that funny routine?
That's very funny. So, like, actually, that would be a punishment for most people. Go to the headmaster's office and do stand-up comedy.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like, I'll give it a go.
They're like, no, I'll never do that again.
But you never really considered it. I don't think comedians do consider that as a vocation. Not when I was growing up anyway, because in Australia, it wasn't a really big thing. And it wasn't until I was at uni they started advertising. Remember the Canberra had that venue called the Private Bin.
Oh, yes, I do. I've played the Private Bin.
Yeah, everyone's played the Private Bin. And they started
You do it for the money because it was a well-paying gig, but it's in the middle of a nightclub and they have all this disco music playing. And then they said, now we're going to have the comedian. They turn off the music and there's like 500 people just going, okay, we just turned the music off. We were, getting somewhere with all this, and now we have to listen to you. So it was a tough gig.
It was a tough gig. It was like going to battle. It really was. It was like a war. Yeah. And that's where I started, because they advertised for local comedians, and I was the only one who rang up. No. And so I called, and this is the days you leave an answering service message, and the guy rings me back. He goes, mate, I've been playing these ads on radio looking for local talent for 2 weeks, and you're the only one who's called. Right.
At that time you were in Canberra, right?
I was living in Canberra. So I started becoming like the local MC, and pretty much dying in my ass every week. Like, I would get up, I'd have one good week, and then the next week I would just die in my ass completely.
Well, because I meet these comedians and they start out in good rooms, rooms that are primed to laugh, and they care about you, and they'll give you the time of day. But to start on the Private Bin, I think that is the worst place on the planet that you could have started. So kudos for you to keeping it up until such a time as you got to a professional level. Let me move on to your film. So you, from stand-up, then it led to films. I think, was that your first film that I saw in the theater all those years ago? Was it Can't Stop the Murders? Is that right?
You Can't Stop the Murders.
You Can't Stop the Murders. And was that your first feature film?
That was our first feature film. So I wrote that with Akmal Saleh and Anthony Murr, 2 other stand-up comedians in Australia. When it started off, we were going to write it as a TV series, and then we decided, you know what? Why don't we just make it as a film? We were so naive. We'll just write it as a film and we'll go make it. How hard can that be?
Right. Well, how naive is it to think you can be a comedian having never done it before at the Private Bin in Canberra? So good for you. And so then you wrote the script, and then you got funding, right? You actually got real funding from, was it Showtime or Miramax, or how did that work?
Yeah, so we wrote it. It pretty much got rejected by the screen bodies, like the funding bodies. But then Showtime Australia, which was operating at the time, just someone there read the script and went, "Hey, this is really funny. You know, why don't we do something with this?" And we were just on the verge of shooting it, like on VHS tapes or something.
Oh my God!
You know, it was going to be a real home job. We thought, let's just go make it.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what we were doing anyway. And then they jumped in at the last minute and said, "Look, we'd like to get involved. You know, wanted to shoot it on film, and we'll come in as a sort of a partner." And then Miramax came on as the sort of distributor, which was their first film. It was their first film that they distributed.
It was the actual first film, not just in Australia, but worldwide.
No, just in Australia, yeah.
In Australia, but that is quite a feat to go from, hey, let's just shoot this amongst ourselves with friends on VHS to now we're a Miramax film with $1 million+ dollars. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a real. I mean, for those of you who don't know the story, but it was a funny kind of concept where you know, someone is killing people that represent the village people. So it's like a serial killer that's killing a real biker, a real sailor, a real cowboy. And myself and Akmal played cops in this small town. And by the time we figure out what's going on, we're kind of next. So it was this kind of wacky, silly kind of comedy.
It was great. And you guys were the lead characters, and which was great. You got to write and you also got to star. And then your friend Anthony, who was your co-writer, also got to direct it. So they put a lot of faith in you guys to just give you the money and just say, hey, okay, go for it.
They did. And, you know, it opened, unfortunately, on the same night as the Iraq War back way away.
In
the film, 2003. And the film's called You Can't Stop the Murders, starring Ahmad Salih, who's Egyptian. He is Egyptian. Was Egyptian.
Right. And your director is also...
He's Lebanese, yeah.
He's Lebanese, right? So, oh, my God.
So it didn't do well at the box office. And I always remember I had a mate, I don't know if you remember, there was a comedian called Dominic O'Kieran. And he rang me. I
recognize the name, I do, yeah.
Yeah, and he rings me, he goes, mate, you're not going to believe this. I'm in the cinema watching You Can't Stop the Murders, and I'm the only one.
So you get a major theatrical release on the same day the Iraq War opens, and you're basically starring one of Australia's now probably most famous Arabs, because I think Akmal he's done really well over the years, which is great. Yeah. And I have to ask you this because, well, you know, one thing that I just have to say this because, you know, as comedians, we're taught that timing is the most important thing. I think you guys maybe just missed the boat on that. So what I have to ask you is this story that I heard, and you got to clarify this because it sounds too insane or too good or too made up to be true. Okay, let me just see what I know about it and then clarify. Yeah. So you get this major release, right? You're going on TV to promote the movie about a guy who goes around killing the village people. You get on the TV set, you go into the green room, and the village people, the actual band is there. Is this true?
This is insane. I don't know if it was like they were setting us up or they were setting them up.
And they just happen to be in Australia?
They just happen to be in Australia, touring Australia, as our film is coming out about killing the village people.
Oh my God.
So, and this is like the Today Show. It's like, so it's the big morning breakfast TV show.
Which has a huge following. It's a national program, yeah. Oh,
it's a national program, and Richard Wilkins, who does the entertainment, you know, he's been doing it for like, I don't know, gazillions of years.
That's right, he's the ex-MTV host, right? So super famous.
Yeah, so we're in the green room, and we start telling the village people because they don't kind of know why we're there, and we say, you know, this is brilliant because we're here to promoting a film about killing you guys.
And so what was their reaction?
I thought they were going to laugh and go, oh, that's great, that's hilarious. But they just look at us like, and they didn't get it. They thought, oh, that's kind of weird. Really?
I mean, why wouldn't you be excited about somebody making a movie about killing all of you? I mean, that would just, you know, I'm shocked that they didn't take it better.
Well, it was weird because I think it was at a time when the village people, you know, they always copped a lot of flack, and then they were coming, had this resurgence, this comeback. So, and they were quite popular, a bit like when ABBA comes back, suddenly everyone loves ABBA. They've always secretly loved ABBA, and everyone secretly loved the village people. We just pretended not to, right?
Well, because you got to have that cool factor. But of course, as soon as YMCA comes on and you're in the nightclub, we're all dancing, we're doing the actions, we're Well, at least I am. Don't tell anyone. So, Gary, the time is going so fast. I got to ask you about another film that you directed, Happy Feet 2, which, of course, we've all seen as a great film and starring what can we say about Robin Williams? So many adjectives to describe him. Nobody in the world ever like him. What was it like directing Robin Williams?
It was an amazing, amazing experience. Like, he came out to Australia for 2 weeks to record all the voices and stuff. We did most of them in Australia, and we, a bit overseas as well. But it was, the guy's such an iconic figure, and then just to see him first up and just to experience the guy was insane. It was so funny. As soon as he gets into a room, he's just on, and he just makes everyone not just laugh, but like cry with laughter. And the strange thing is, when you get him on his own, he's really quiet. He's really soft, very softly spoken. And then as soon as someone joins the conversation, bang, away he goes. He's just kind of, it's like a Tourette's, like a comedy Tourette's, if you like.
So it's really like more than one person basically equals an audience.
Exactly. And he couldn't help it. He just fired on. And, it was probably a great thing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah, but I mean, how incredibly funny, and to be in his presence. And it's good you got a lot of alone time with him too, so you got to know him. Now, when you're directing him and he's delivering these lines and you're in the room with him, first of all, I think the first thing is probably not to laugh so that the mic, doesn't pick that up. But second of all, like, you're the director, so did you ever be like, well, Robin, let me just give you a few comedy tips here on the delivery on this? I mean, was there anything you could say to him about his performance?
Well, it's really, okay, so I'll back up a little bit. So it was really interesting because he ended up crashing one of my stand-up gigs, right?
Oh.
Because I was still, working, doing the regular stand-up scene as well. And I had a gig at a place called the Sugar Mill Hotel. And some of the other acts who were out here recording voices, who play all the amigos, they're all stand-up comedians as well, Jess Garcia and stuff like that. And Jeff was going back to LA. And they said, hey, Gary, Jeff's going home. Do you want to go and have some drinks? We're just going to go out for dinner. And I said, well, as it turns out, I'm gigging tonight. I can't. I said, look, why don't you guys come down and you can share my spot? Okay, I'm headlining, but I'll break it up and I'll introduce you guys. It'll be really fun. And they went, yeah, that sounds great. And as we're talking, Robin Williams kind of walks past and they go, hey, Robin, Gary's doing a comedy show tonight. Do you want to come down? He's like, oh, I'll think about it, And I'm like, oh, okay. I started to get really nervous, thinking I kind of secretly wanted him to come down and not come down at the same time.
Yeah, because if Robin Williams is in the audience, how can you, how does that, yes. I
can't
imagine.
If you die in front of Robin Williams, that's kind of...
You might as well just die, yes.
You might as well just die. So anyway, as it turns out, I go to the gig and he turns up, right? It was just when Twitter had started and people started tweeting, hey, I just saw Robin Williams walk into the Sugar Mill. And so the room instantly is packed. There's just wall to wall. Everyone's there. And everyone came down. The crew, Elijah Wood came down, all the other cast, just to kind of share this night. And Robin was just sitting there. He wasn't planning to do anything. And anyway, I go up. I'm shitting myself because I thought, oh my God, I'm so nervous here. I've never been so nervous. It was like the first time I'd ever done stand-up. And I'm actually, it's one of those times, when you don't just hang in the room, you go outside into some stairwell, and just kind of sit there.
You look for an exit that hope leads to a highway that's very far away. I know.
Totally. So anyway, I go on and it's impossible to die because the audience is just there. They're pumped. And I introduce one of the acts and I introduce Jeff. And Jeff's this really funny Latino kind of comedian. And he starts hammering Elijah Wood on stage, going, hey, everyone, that's Elijah Wood. There, you can see him over there. It's Elijah Wood. There he is. Elijah gets all the girls. The girls love him. That's all he does is bang girls. That's all he does. Bang, bang. That's all. That ring? That's a cock ring. That's a cock ring, right? And Elijah's there, and he kind of yells out. He goes, yeah, and when it heats up, you could see the markings.
Oh, my God. What an incredible night and experience, yeah.
Yeah, and then Robin's just sitting next to Elijah Wood, and he just gets up and starts doing Gollum. He starts going, my precious, my precious. And as he stands up, the audience stands up as well, and they just start applauding. They're just applauding, and he makes his way through the kind of crowd. It's like they're giving him a standing ovation before he's even started.
Right, because he was that iconic. Anything that he would do in the room at the time, and what a sad loss. I mean, obviously we were all very upset by his loss.
Yeah.
we're out of time, Gary, but we're going to
I
keep
know.
talking for a moment because I just want to hold you a little bit longer. But I want to leave enough time for our next guest too, of course, Severin Browne. Let me ask you about a TV commercial that came across my news feed a few years ago, and it was for condoms, and the headline was Australia's banned TV commercial, and I think the Huffington Post picked it up, and it was so it came across all our news feeds over here, and I was like, oh wow, look at this. Who in their right mind is going to direct and write a TV commercial like this and think it's not going to be banned? And then I heard it was you, and I said, well, who in their right mind, like I said, what is the story of that?
Well, look, it's so bizarre. I made this ad for this company called Four Seasons Condoms, who actually rang up the managing director to pitch him a short film about a condom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, that's great, but have you got an ad by any chance? Because I'm looking for an ad. And as it happened, I had this idea. And I thought, I've got this idea where, this really laconic Aussie couple go into a chemist, pharmacy, and they're looking for a condom. And the person comes up, the assistant says, can I help you? And they very casually go, look, I'm just looking for a condom. And she's like, oh, do you know your size? And they go, well, we've just come back from Europe. I know my European size, but I'm not quite sure. And the assistant's like, oh, why don't we just try one on?
I think we have to see this commercial.
Are you going to show it? Okay.
I think we should. Dolly, if you have it there, why don't we put it up? Because
fantastic. You've got it.
We'll come back to you, Gary. But if we have it, let's put it up. And
Hi, can I help you?
Yeah, I'm just looking for a condom.
Okay, do you know what size you are? Well, we've been overseas, so
I know my European size, if that helps.
well, why don't we just try one on? How does that one feel?
Yeah, it's good. Real comfortable.
You know, it really brings out the color of your eyes. It's very nice.
I don't know. I might try one size up.
This one feels too big.
Yeah, this size feels good.
Hey, Mum. Yeah, good. Just trying on some condoms with Tyson.
Oh, this size is awesome.
Hey, the toothpaste is on sale.
Oh, yeah?
Sex is more fun naked. So get naked and let the fun begin.
Thanks, guys.
Come again.
my God, Gary, your crowning achievement, my friend. I love it. I love it.
I'm even laughing now. I forgot. That's quite funny.
That's probably the first time you've seen it in a long time, right?
My favorite line is when he goes, "Oh, the toothpaste is on special." Or she says that.
That's fantastic. I remember shopping for condoms years ago, and I was embarrassed, because I grew up Irish Catholic, and I went to the supermarket, and I'm like, I figured they're going to be in the pharmaceutical aisle of the supermarket. So I asked the security guy, say, hey man, where's the toothpaste? Because I think they'll be in that area, right? And he says, yeah, it's over there. Any points? And I go over and I'm looking around, and he can see me looking around, and he comes over and he picks up toothpaste. He says, here. And then I have to buy the toothpaste because Irish Catholic upbringing.
Yeah, totally.
Embarrassed. But Gary, it's just so great to have seen your career blossom from those humble beginnings of a private bin in Canberra. And it's just great to chat with you. I wish we had more time, but
yeah, definitely.
Hopefully we will get a chance to chat again soon.
That'd be great. Thanks, Owen. And look, fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And you can check out more about Gary at garyeck.com.au.
No, there's no AU.
And there's no AU. It's garyeck.com.
Yeah, there you
go. Oh, I think once upon a time you had an AU in your... No, never?
No.
Okay, so I'll just look like an idiot. I was trying to make you look like an idiot, but thanks, mate. I'll talk to you soon, Gary.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Gary Eck. Wow, what a great guest, and what a wonderful guy, and such an interesting career, so many stories. Hopefully we'll get a chance to chat with him again in the future. Now we're going to move on to an experience, which I have no idea what to expect. But if you remember last week, we had our resident millennial, Nicholas Schock, and we went to him and he went on a rant and we had to cut him off. And then we went back to apologize at the end of the show and he was still on his rant. And I'm not sure if that's still happening, but we said, you know what? Let's give the millennials a little platform. So this is the millennial word.
Hey, Nicholas, what's the word of the day?
Crepuscular.
That was it?
During dawn and dusk.
Oh, okay. So that's what it means. Well, I had no idea what to expect, but that was the millennial world. Thank you so much, Nicholas Schock. And I thought you'd still be ranting about the topic that it was planned obsolescence, I believe, was the topic last month. Well, we look forward to seeing Nicholas Schock again. Now we're going to move on to our expert video. So last week, you might remember, we showed a video by resident expert JJ Schock, and he made this video especially for our program. And since then, it's been on YouTube and it's shared and it's gone all around the world, and it's got, I don't know how many views, but it's a very, very popular video that they're showing to educate people right now. So we thought, because it was so good and so educational, we thought we'd just show it again. So this is resident expert JJ Schock.
Hey, you quarantiners, enjoying all those live stream concerts? Have you noticed that some of them sound really good and some of them, well, not so much? Over the last few weeks, I've learned a few things about how to get the best sound while streaming live. Here's what I've learned so far. If you want to sound professional, stream from a computer, not a phone. Have a good enough condenser microphone. Have an audio interface for the computer, and use a wired internet connection, not Wi-Fi. There are a lot of inexpensive condenser mics on the market, many for under $100. Check out Sweetwater or Musician's Friend for good deals, and look for ones with a 4-star rating or higher. And you'll want a good USB audio interface for the computer to plug in your condenser mic, and also your guitar or piano. A good 2-channel audio interface that I've used is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. It has 2 inputs. Finally, you'll want to use a wired network connection to ensure the fastest internet bandwidth for the best possible sound. If your computer does not have a built-in wired network connection, you can always buy an inexpensive USB adapter. Also, you'll want to make sure your internet upload speed is at least 12 megabits per second, though above 20 megabits per second is best. So to recap, stream from a computer, not a phone, have a good enough condenser microphone, have an audio interface to plug into the computer, and use a wired internet connection, not Wi-Fi. I hope this helps make your next streaming concert sound a lot better. Take care.
Excellent. Thank you so much, JJ Schock. And you can find that on the Divine Rebel Music YouTube channel also, if you'd like to revisit that video. Now we're going to have a little word from our sponsors. We're recycling the joke that we did last week. We have no sponsors, but we do have a tip jar. So if you feel like throwing something in the tip jar, you can be our sponsored. All tips are appreciated. They're shared with our featured guests, and they appreciate it. We appreciate it. And again, we are just happy to have you here. But if you can throw something in the tip jar, we appreciate that. We're now going to move on to a short segment with Darcy. And here's a cooking tip from Darcy Lynn.
So I don't know about y'all, but all this day drinking has really got me thinking, what goes good with things? What goes good with cookies? What goes good with bread? What goes good with toast? What goes good with like graham crackers or something like that? These homemade graham crackers that I made. So I thought I would take a moment and really delve into the idea of pairing certain foods with certain snacks and food bites, etc. So this is what we're going to do. So today I'm taking these homemade graham crackers that I made, which you can make too if you want the recipe. It'll be available to you. So I decided to try a very well-known Tennessee honey whiskey to see how well it would pair with it. So here you go. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so do this with these, okay? Here. So you want to try?
Oh, I love it. Tennessee whiskey and graham crackers. Awesome. Thank you so much, Darcy. And we will have the recipe available for you on those graham crackers. I don't think we know the recipe for the Tennessee whiskey, but So good. And we'll look forward to having another tip from Darcy next week. Now we're going to go to our special guest, our featured musical artist. This gentleman has been around playing music since the 70s. And in fact, in the 70s, he started off playing music as a kid, but he got signed to Motown in the 70s. And he had multiple records produced with Motown. And he was on the Motown label. And then he switched to another label. And he's been making music ever since. And now you can see him around the clubs and the venues of Los Angeles, still making great music. And it's a guy I always like to enjoy. I always enjoy seeing live. So please welcome our special guest, Severin Browne.
Hi.
Hi, Severin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's very good to see you.
Nice to be here. Nice to be seen.
Yeah, now I have to say, Severin, your backdrop looks like a green screen, but I understand that it's not.
My backdrop. Well, I have a big house. I have a historic property called the Abbey.
Wow. And that's the Abbey we see behind you?
Well, it's the chapel. Yes.
Wow.
So if you can imagine that behind me is I'm actually facing the organ on one end of the room. The other end of the room has a fireplace, which is a very cool, a cool fireplace. Keeps it kind of, when on a cold night, it does keep the place warm.
Oh, that's lovely. And you host concerts there too. You actually have live shows there at the Abbey.
Well, I haven't had very many, and not very often recently, but I've had some great parties here with music, of course.
Yeah, well, the next one we will certainly be attending, Severin. I know there was one with Michael McNevin just recently that unfortunately I missed.
That was the last one before the lockdown, right?
Right. Well, we're very much looking forward to getting back to that and some of your other shows too. I saw you most recently. I think I saw you Songwriters at the Cellars, and that was maybe you were the last one to play Songwriters at the Cellars before the lockdown, actually. So that's the last time I saw you, maybe about a couple of months ago.
That was a good show too.
Yeah, thank you. Now, you grew up in a musical family, so your dad not only encouraged you to play an instrument, but expected it. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. We were all told that we pretty much had to choose something to learn, and so he was a jazz pianist, and he had a lot of jazz horns around, and kind of decorating the house, and I chose accordion. And he was.
Did that greatly upset your father?
It did. But then I didn't last long on the accordion, so when I wanted to play saxophone, he was happy about that. But I didn't last with that either.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to play drums, which he was happy about.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't last long with that either. But when I picked up a guitar, he was glad with that.
Good.
That was when I was 10.
Oh wow! So you've been playing a while, and so you having experience in those other instruments like drums, saxophone, and even accordion, God forbid. I mean, but that helps you with your songs and your musicality because you have understandings of other instruments. I know a lot of singer-songwriters, they know one instrument and that's it.
Well, that it sounds good. It sounds good to say that, but I don't know that it's really true because I was just too young.
Right.
I was listening to music, but I was listening to either country or rock and roll. Depending on where I was,
Yeah, and that also seeps into your mind. I know you guys lived in different parts of the world. I believe you were born in Germany because your dad was in the army, and then you spent a little time in Japan.
Right.
And so I guess that also rounded your experience as a child.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sure, I got to Japan. Well. So I was born in Germany. When I was 2, we came here to the Abbey.
Oh, wow.
When we were 16, when I was 10, we left here and went to Orange County. My parents thought we were all hanging with the wrong people. So we all moved to Orange County and hung with the wrong people,
Oh, that's great. So you sought out the wrong people in Orange County.
Oh, of course.
So that move really didn't help you, but you're back in Highland Park now, which is fantastic, in this historic building that has been, am I right in saying it was built by your granddad?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So it's a historic building, not only historic, but in your family.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing. I want to go back a little to your Motown days, because that is of such interest to me and so many musicians and so many music fans, because it's an iconic label that brought out so many great artists. Now, there's a certain Motown sound that, we associate with Motown, but then they were taking on different artists with different sounds, right, in the 70s?
Well, in the early 70s, they were moving to Hollywood from Detroit, where they'd always been. And so at about in 1970, I had an audition with Joe Bett, which was Motown's publisher. And I went up there with my guitar because I did not have any tapes. I just went up there with my guitar and I played guitar. I just sat in this room and I played for these two guys who worked for the publishing department. And all of a sudden, Berry Gordy walked in.
Wow! As you were playing.
These two guys had never seen Berry Gordy in person.
I can't believe it. The stars
Because
aligned.
he was just moving to Hollywood.
Wow. So that was the best way then, because if you sent a tape and if they were listening to it and Barry Gordy walked in, they would have stopped the tape and probably forgotten about you. But you were playing live and Barry Gordy walks in.
Barry Gordy he kind of took over the interview and asked me a few questions, and asked me to play a couple more songs, and I did.
Yeah.
And said, well, thank you very much. It was nice talking to you. And he walked out. And so I went on talking to these two guys that I was talking to. And finally, after a few minutes, Berry Gordy's business guy, whose name was Herb Eisman, came in and offered me a deal.
Oh my God, it happened like that. That's
offered me a staff songwriting contract.
Wow.
And I wasn't even sure what that meant. I'd heard of such a thing, but I did not know.
Yeah, what an incredible story. And so then as a staff songwriter, were there particular artists that they would match you with, or would they just ask you to write the songs and they would find the artists?
I think, I never got to be in the in crowd, as it were, at Motown. So I was never paired with any of the artists, but I did co-write a couple things with some of their writers. I wrote a lot of songs with a woman named Patty Dahlstrom.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, so she
had a lot of songs on a couple different labels,
and Twiggy, was Twiggy on that label, or was when she recorded your song, was she on a different label, or did that come about a different way?
That was a complete surprise to me. I don't even know how Twiggy got a hold of my song.
Oh, I love it.
A very odd match, because it was a strange song to begin with. It was a song called Cooking School.
Oh, wow.
And it was just a weird little song about, kind of a made up thing about going to cooking school.
Well, if you told me that somebody was playing it on the guitar in the street and Twiggy walked by and heard the song, I'd believe that story from you after how you met Berry Gordy. And you had a hit too with Pamela Stanley. Was it I Don't Want to Talk About It?
Yeah. Well,
and do you want to talk about it?
Sure. Well, Pamela Stanley, first of all, I wrote the song with Pamela's brother, James Lee Stanley. My girlfriend is just passing notes to me, telling me, never mind.
Okay, good. Well, that's the thing about doing it all from home, Why not? So when that Pamela Stanley song, she did it as a disco track and it worked very well. So did you and Pamela's sister, was it Pamela's sister or brother, you said?
Brother.
So did you guys write it for her as a disco song? Or
we did not write it for her. We wrote it.
Okay.
We wrote it as just a cool song. I mean, you got your nerve. You call me on the phone at 4 a.m. Did you think I'd be alone? You'll never change. The whole world turns around you. Last time should have been the last time. I don't want to talk about it. Last time should have been the last time. I don't want to talk about it. And so she gave it kind of a Michael Jackson thing, Thriller sort of thing.
Yeah,
Boom,
I mean,
boom,
it
boom,
works.
boom, boom. Very disco, very cool.
Yeah, it works as an acoustic song. So, you know, I hope you still do that in your sets. That because but then when you hear like you add those keys and those synths and stuff, and suddenly you've got disco, and as you say, that Michael Jackson beat, which works very well with it also. Now
Yeah.
you also had a surprise. Well, I guess one of the songs that you did, and I'd like to ask you about this, was written by Jules Shear. Is that right? Was that Romance? And as I understand it, because Jules went on to become a very successful songwriter, having hits with the Bangles and Tina Turner and Cyndi Lauper, but you were the first to
Yeah.
record one of Jules' songs. Is that correct?
Right. It was my second album from Motown, and you know, he was a pal who had this fun song called Romance, you know.
Yeah.
And so I did it. Yeah.
So you're basically responsible for starting his great songwriting career. You should take credit, Severin. You should take credit. And now there was an issue with some of the lyrics because you see, we've heard stories about Motown and how they shape and they groom their performers, and they're very hands-on, from what I understand, or at least they were. And so I think they pretty much gave you free rein to produce your own album. Is that right?
Well, they did, except when it came to that song, they needed me to, because I'd started to get radio play, but
Yeah.
not enough, because it had a word that they didn't like. A lot of radio stations wouldn't play it because of that word.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, this like cable, I don't think I could sing that word, could I?
Oh, I don't think we might. I think it's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Well, it's
I
okay.
really
We can ask people to look it up on YouTube, because the version that I found actually online does have that word. So it's the album version and not the single version. So it's there in all its glory. So if you want to check it out, check out Romance by Severin Browne. It'll come right up on YouTube. And
it's a cool song
from your second album, the new and improved Severin Browne. Speaking of that album, I wanted to ask you, was it your choice to have that artwork with you on the front holding a can?
My choice? No, that's a big no.
Okay.
My choice was to use the photograph.
Ah.
Photograph was taken by Matt Kramer, a good friend.
Mhm.
But apparently they didn't want something with the legal department. I'm not sure what it was. They didn't want to use the photograph.
I
So
see. And
they
so then
painted.
the illustrator, they did an illustration then of the photograph,
Yeah.
because
If
it
I
looks like a good feel-good moment, you know? It's like, oh, I want to have a beer with this guy, which we will, Severin. I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we'd love to hear another song for you if we could.
Okay, well, let me do one from. I'll do one that I wrote for my dad.
Beautiful.
Okay. This is a song called On My Way to Play. I used to play down in the South Bay. I played at a bunch of bars down there. And at the same time, my father was in a home for Alzheimer's patients not far away. So on many times, I would stop by and see him before going to my gig. On the way to destiny, the old man stops to look at me, then recalls some rendezvous. He's got important work to do. He picks up something from the floor, a memory or maybe more. Then suddenly he forgets, like all our old duets. On my way to play a bar in the South Bay, I used to stop and see the dad that doesn't remember me, but I remembered him, the builder of my jungle gym. On my way to play a bar in the South Bay. Nurses say he's like all men. Sometimes he will flirt with them. Other times he doesn't. But I kind of forget the words. At first he smiled when he saw me and asked about the family. Now he doesn't know my name, but I can say the same. On my way to play a bar in the South Bay, I used to stop and see the dad that couldn't remember me, but I remembered him, the builder of my jungle gym. On my way to play a bar in the South Bay. Now all night long I'd see his face on every drunken person in the place. I drank the drinks they bought for me, and my dad drank along for free. I owe my music to this man, the leader of my family clan, who loved his Dixieland and blues, Louis Armstrong, Ella too. Then rehearsed into the night, my mom said, close your eyes real tight, and sleep will find a way. I do that to this day. On my way to play a bar in the South Bay, I used to stop and see the dad that couldn't remember me, but I remembered him, the builder of my jungle gym. On my way to play a bar in the South Bay. On my way to play a bar in the South Bay. Okay. So you're muted right now.
Oh, yes, I'm back. Well, we just wanted to get all we could out of that song there as it was dissipating into the microphone. Severin, I've heard you do that song live, and I just heard it again, and it is so touching. It paints such a beautiful picture of your dad and the gift he gave to you of the music. I just love those lines about your mom would say, close your eyes tight, and you still do that to this day. It's just all of his musical influences that he passed on to you, and of course the sadness of him not remembering too. So many people can relate to that.
Right.
Thank you so much. And we are out of time, but I'm going to keep you a little longer if that's okay. And if the folks watching could stay a little longer, I just want to talk about what's coming up for you, because I know you're working
well, first of all, what I want to say before, I mean, if this is all the time we have, that song is on then the album that I'm about halfway through recording.
Mm-hmm.
I'm recording it with Ed Tree, and that song is on there, and a whole bunch of more. And if you would like to buy a copy and support my finishing it, okay, go to my website, severinbrowne.com, and there's a blog there that talks a little bit about everything, and also there's a on the music. It talks about my raising money for that. So it'll tell you how to donate money to the cause, as it were.
And you can actually pre-order an album, right? That's part of it.
That's right.
Well, which is a great idea, because I know on your website you said there are a lot of other causes out there. So pre-ordering an album is a good way to make this album happen. And yes, as I said, we are out of time, but I wanted to keep you a little longer just so we could talk about this upcoming project. And I think it's aptly called Overdue. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's an overdue album.
Yeah.
And Severin, if you don't mind, I'm sure the folks at home won't mind waiting a little longer. Would you be open to singing one more song?
Oh, of course.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Let's see. What would that be?
Now that I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
You thought you were done, but we're going to keep you here all night. We're going to get another song from Severin, and then we just got a couple of things to tie things up. So please stay with us. We're going to tell you all about what's happening next week. But thank you so much, Severin Browne. We'll chat after this song, and we're so happy to have you. The floor is yours, my friend.
Great. Thanks, Owen. I appreciate it. Anyway, here's a song from my last solo effort. This is a song that I wrote with Freebo, James Lee Stanley from before, and David Roth, not David Lee Roth. This is called To the Light. I've heard it said the earth looks peaceful when it's seen from outer space. Such a pretty place for you and me. How do we hear the wisdom of the crickets in the night, singing out of sight from way down here, where there's always right or wrong? Why can't we just try to get along? I've heard it said there's 100 billion galaxies of light lighting up the night for you and me. We could be just as peaceful as the earth from outer space, living in a place of harmony. Harmony could be such a joyful sound, but why do we just put each other down? Just consider that there is no wrong or right, and consider that there is no black or white. There are always shades of gray to help us find our way to the light, to the light. I've heard it said every culture has a history in stone, dances of their own they like to do. Wouldn't you like to be accepted just the way you are? Is that really so hard to see? Couldn't we find a way to understand? Blow away that line in the sand. Just consider that there is no wrong or right, and consider that there is no black or white. There are only shades of gray to help us find our way to the light, to the light, to the light, to the light. I've heard it said the earth looks peaceful when it's seen from outer space. Such a pretty place for you and me.
Wow, thank you, Severin. What a great song. What a great message. These shades of gray helping us to the light. I like that whole ethos. There's no black and white. It's just who we are. Life is going on. And beautiful message, beautiful song. And thank you so much for spending this extra time with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And for talking to us today. It's just really great to chat. And we look forward to seeing your live gigs again soon. And hopefully there'll be one in the Abbey, and I will be first to buy a ticket next time. So
all right,
I won't miss out. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Severin Browne.
This is great. I really appreciate being asked to do this.
Oh, well, we've loved having you, Severin. Thank you so much. Wow, what a great guy. Legendary Severin Browne. And we look forward to hearing a lot more from him. Do check out his website at severinbrowne.com. That's with an E on the end of Brown. And go to the Overdue Project. You will see that on his webpage and how you can pre-order a copy of his CD to help move it along. He's recording that with some great musicians, produced by Ed Tree, who's one of our favorite producers. And believe me, it's going to sound good. So very much looking forward to that. Now we're going to go, we just said we'd try something new. So during the week, Dolly and I were chatting and we said, hey, we should get Chris Elliott on the show, better known, or should I say worse known, as Uncle Chris. And he is a character. He's a little imbalanced, I think. So we thought it'd be kind of fun. And we said, why don't we throw Chris, because he's so good with language. Why don't we throw him 4 words? And we said, randomly, I stood outside the front of my house. I saw a shovel in the yard. I saw a fire hydrant. I saw a headlight on my car. And I saw an oak leaf. And I said, let's throw him those 4 words and see what he comes up with. So I don't know about you, but I'm excited to see what happens here. This is Uncle Chris.
Chris Show, and he's got some issues big time. But first, a word from our sponsors. Hey there, Facebook commenter. I kind of know the answer to this, but are you full of crap? Then you might want to try one of these shovels. 1-800-SHOVELS, shovels.com. Thank goodness we did the business. Back to the Uncle Chris Show. Okay, my favorite bit was the headlight. What? No headlight? You gave it to Jacob Dylan? Oh, wow. What's instead? Fire hydrant. Owen! Nothing rhymes with fire hydrant except aspiring tyrant. Yes, that's close enough. Close enough is close enough. Now, what's the last one? Where is that oak leaf? I've looked everywhere. Wow!
Oh my God. Uncle Chris, ladies and gentlemen, what a character. That was so cool. So you can catch Uncle Chris. You can catch him live on Facebook actually tomorrow at midday. So go check it out. We have the link up there. And good job, Uncle Chris, with the 4 words that we randomly gave you. I didn't think that nothing rhymed with fire hydrant. I wouldn't have thought of that, aspiring tyrant. As I said, Chris is a little bit imbalanced. So check out his show tomorrow at noon, the Uncle Chris Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to finish up with just a few announcements. And these are basically gigs that are coming up, live shows on Facebook. As we know, we're not doing any live shows around town. And tomorrow, of course, you can check out the Uncle Chris Show at noon. And on the Roadhouse series, which is a great series that happens once a month, on May 14th, 7 p.m., the Roadhouse series presents An Irish Wake for John Prine. John Prine, one of America's all-time great songwriters. He'll be remembered forever in his the songs he has contributed to the American Songbook. It's streaming on Facebook. Roadhouse series presents. It's going to feature John York from the Byrds, Larry Raspberry from the Gentrys, James Lee Stanley, Freebo, Alice Howe, Chad Watson, Pam Lowe, and many more. And believe me, in the many more, there is so much talent. It's going to be a very impressive show, and trust me, it's well worth tuning in this Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Then on Saturday, May 16th, which is next Saturday, that was me there for a moment, in case you forgot what I look like. Saturday, May 16th at 7 p.m., we have Sweet Sounds Around Town. Now, this is a Divine Rebel Music produced show, and those of you who've been following to Divine Rebel Music will remember the house concerts that used to happen back in the days when we all got together through the summer, and they were always wonderful events. Darcy Lynn and others would do the cooking, and Kathy Luna would be at the door, and it was just such a great team, and there was always great musicians and great nights. And of course, it's not happening right now because we're on lockdown. So what they've decided to do is to have their featured artists do a live show on Facebook. And we're starting off with like a really very good one, Emily Zuzik. If you have not heard Emily Zuzik, you will be blown away. She is such a wonderful performer. And Ted Russell Camp, who not only is a Grammy winner, but he's worked with so many great artists in the business, produced albums. He's multi-instrumental. He's a really great guy, and it's just going to be a stellar show. And I'm going to be checking in with you on that too, and I'll get a chance to interview them. It's not going to be a long show like we had yesterday. We had a 3-hour show. It's going to be relatively short, but it's going to be, it's going to be an hour plus, but it's probably going to be an hour and a half, and probably 90 minutes. Okay, I'm going to stop guessing. I think when we get chatting to Ted Russell Camp, especially, I think the stories are just going to be so compelling. I think we're just going to probably go all evening, but tune in at 7 p.m. and stay with us for as long as you possibly can. And on Monday, May 18th, which is next Monday at 7 p.m., we'll be back with songs and sit-downs with OWEN DARA. That'll be featuring Jessie Fisher is going to be our interesting person guest. Jessie Fisher, she is so interesting. She's a really good person, and she is an acrobat. She starred in a Cirque du Soleil show some years ago, and now she's living her dream by being a stunt woman in Hollywood. And so you've seen her on TV, but you won't recognize her because falling off buildings, going through windows. Recently, just this movie came out, the new Terminator movie, and she is the stunt woman for the lead woman in that, Linda Hamilton. And we are just so excited to talk to her about all of that. And we're also going to have Paul Zolo, and we are just so looking forward to having Paul Zolo on the show. He's a singer-songwriter in his own right. He's written some new material, so we're going to be hearing that. And we're also going to be talking to Paul about his books that he's published, about the interviews that he's had, the conversations he's had with so many iconic songwriters, including Paul Simon, Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty. And he is just so full of great information. I am just very much looking forward to talking to Paul and also to Jessie Fisher next week. All I can say after that is thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Dolly and JJ. Thank you for putting me back on the screen. I wasn't sure I was coming back. And we will see you at those upcoming gigs, and we will be here at this exact spot for this show with new guests this time next week, 7 p.m. West Coast time. Wherever you are in the world, tipping is not just for cows. It just came up on my screen. Tipping shouldn't be for cows. So if you want to throw something in the tip jar, also shamelessly, as we promoted in the beginning, if you want to go to my YouTube channel, just go to YouTube, type in OWEN DARA, and we're trying to get to 100 so we can easily stream this show on there and people can easily find it through my YouTube channel. And again, thank you so much. We're going to sign off. Special thank you to my guests tonight, Severin Browne, Gary Eck, and we look forward to seeing you next week.